Hello everyone, this is Zooc, and today I'm bringing you a new logo design process video. This one is going to be quite different from the rest of them because it approaches a number of issues that designers deal with at some point throughout their careers. But before I start, I just want to tell my clients, because I know they're going to be watching this video, this is not meant as a diss for anyone or any sort of like flaming towards you guys, or not trying to say you're assholes or anything like that. You have all the rights in the world to ask for something else in case you don't feel that what the designer has made fits with your idea. But this is just like insight into my mind as I do these projects. So, don't be offended by anything I'm about to say or whatever. So anyway, this logo is going to be for a company called Blue Apple Entertainment. Now, when I got the brief for it, I actually didn't get a brief. And by brief, I mean, as a designer, when you start working on something, it's usually good to ask for a design brief, which is basically like kind of what ideas the clients have regarding their vision of the logo, or how they feel about their own company, or, what they would like to see in the future, that sort of stuff, like meta game thing, kind of like long-term plans, what kind of audience they feel they address, all that. Obviously their activity, that has to be in great detail, like preferred color schemes, all sorts of shit. Any ideas that the clients have, they should give to the designer so he can maybe take them into account upon designing a product for them. They're not necessarily good ideas. A lot of times they're actually pretty bad, but it's still good to know, just so that you can, bring counter arguments in case you decide to make something completely different than what the client had in mind. And most of the time, this is what I do. The client gives me their ideas, gives me their vision, and I go the complete opposite way. And 9 times out of 10, it succeeds. Like, it actually works out. They're like, oh yeah, man, this is great, much better than what we talked about initially, etc., etc. So when I got the so-called brief for this, it was a short paragraph telling me that this company dealt with event management and renting of gear and DJs and all sorts of shit. So in my mind, upon receiving that information, I thought, okay, they're like tech guys. They're the kind of guys that sit in the backstage, rent out speakers for various events, bring the DJs, like technical stuff. So initially, when I went with the Blue Apple, I wanted to make something a bit techy, modern, like not very party-like. When you get a name like Blue Apple Entertainment, it's a very kind of a, not obscure, what's the word for it? Ambiguous name, because you don't know from the start what the company does, especially because these are, it's unrealistic, the name Blue Apple. There are no blue apples. Nowadays, there's this fashion going about for companies to pick like weird names, like rabbit, squirrel, flower shop, or something that doesn't necessarily tie to the activity of the company, but it gives you a designer the opportunity to create something fun. Like if you were to say rabbit, squirrel, flower shop, you would probably go around that name and design some sort of a squirrel mascot, stuff that has like animals in it and a certain characteristic for those animals. They're always fun to work with because the designer has the opportunity to create a mascot and so make the brand a bit more fun. It's always nice to have your own symbol for a brand that is like, grabs people attention, because mascots always are going to do that. Mascots are like animals or various types of people, stuff that is very expressive. It's very specific and very expressive. So, there's like Dead Fish Entertainment, and you draw like a skeleton of a fish in a very cool way. There's lots of stuff. If you look at logo design galleries, which I do a lot for inspiration, you'll notice then a lot of companies choose those kinds of names nowadays. Sure, some of them are fictional, just to give the designers the opportunity to put their idea into practice. If I have an idea like zombie elephant, I don't know, car tuners, gives the opportunity to create something very cool with a zombie elephant. So this was kind of the case right now as well with the Blue Apple. Unfortunately, Blue Apple isn't really awesome and fun as a concept, right? It's a fruit. It's not really that exciting. So I try to do my best to create some sort of a symbol for a Blue Apple, something techy, something not very expressive and modern, and apparently I completely missed the idea of the logo. Because, and this is something that I try to not do very often, I was dealing with like 3 people at the same time. You always want to deal with one guy. The guy that has the final word, that's the one you want to deal with. Because dealing with middlemen always causes problems, because they're they're more likely to influence the guy that has the final word, right? So if they say like, okay, this is what the guy did, but I don't really like this. What do you think? And he's gonna be like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we should do something else. And so you get fucked. You got to do it all over again. And this was kind of the case in this case. I got positive feedback for that, and then I was told that, okay, you completely missed the point. I was like, dude, that's what I thought it was about, but apparently it wasn't. This is an actual company that plans parties. So they're the people guys, the guys that deal with actual people, the fun, like clubs and stuff. So yeah, indeed, if I were to talk about that, then these logos would be completely unfitting. So I had to design something around New York, because apparently that's where I later found out the company was from. I had no idea where these guys were from. When I searched for Blue Apple Entertainment, I found a company from Dubai that does kind of the same thing that these guys do, like, party planners with renting gear and all that. So eventually I got to talk with one of the guys, and he told me that it has to be something that ties to New York and like the party nightlife atmosphere of New York. So since you got the apple and New York is called the Big Apple, for me that was kind of it. That was the connection to New York. So putting the buildings inside, this was their idea with the putting of the buildings inside. I personally didn't like it as much because it was the same message repeated, right? So you got the Big Apple, you got the Blue Apple, which is a company, and then you put a skyline of New York in it. That's, repeating the same thing over and over. So I was going for something else, but this, I have to respect their ideas and put them into a visual form to see if that's what they want. So this is kind of what I came with, very like hipster shit, like modern stuff with, matching of two different fonts, like completely different styles of fonts. And I kind of like this one. It was not as cool as what I'm about to do, but it was definitely acceptable. Well, they didn't like this one either because they wanted something that they wanted, like windows inside the buildings. They wanted lights in the windows. It's like, listen, friends, this logo is going to be smaller than an inch in size. Like, it's impossible to see the windows in the buildings and the lights in the windows. It's just cluttering. And plus this idea with putting skylines of stuff in, it's been done quite a bit before, but you can't tell a client like your idea sucks. You can't really tell them that. So then I decided to do my own thing and go a completely different route and actually create a mascot. When all else fails, going for mascots is usually a pretty good idea. So for me, it had to be something that ties to the club scene, the party life, something that's cool and modern for young people to appreciate, not like old farts, And so I made a mascot out of the apple, and decided to use very thick lines just to make it pop out, easily readable at small sizes and all that. So I thought this was going to work out because this actually turns out to be pretty damn cool, if I do say so myself. But this is not what they picked in the end anyway, because they wanted something that's not as personal, I guess. I'm not sure what the reason was why they didn't pick this one. I would have picked this one. Or that it looks like a tomato. But if someone thinks that looks like a tomato, then they probably don't really know their basic biology, because the leaves and the stems are completely different from tomatoes. So I worked for like an hour on this one, made it completely without any sort of reference or sketches. Just sort of stopped everything I was doing and worked on this one. When all else fails, mascots are usually a safe route to go. So just putting in some shading there and some highlights and making it pop out and be a bit more sleek. This is very popular, as I've said, that people create a lot of these out of stuff that isn't necessarily able to be alive, such as a fruit. They create something that ties to their business. So I put on the sunglasses there just to signify the club scene, because for some reason people wear sunglasses in clubs nowadays, something that I've never really understood. And so adding the final touch-ups, I was sure they were going to go for this. I was like absolutely positive that this was going to be it. And again, one of the disadvantages of working with several people and reporting to several people is that you get mixed messages. So when I sent this one over to them, they said like, yeah, okay, we're really close. Just like do these minor changes and we're done. And I was like, yes, I knew my idea is going to work out because I'm a fucking winner. And then later on, I talked to another guy and he's like, okay, well, the boss doesn't really like it, but I do. It's like, what the fuck? I thought this was it. I thought we were done. And so I had to do yet another concept, which you will see in a little bit. So the skyline, I actually bought that from like a stock website, because I didn't have a skyline of New York, and this is like a highly detailed version of it. So I paid $25 for that, just for this project. Now that's dedication. And that's like over, no, not over. It's about 10% of what I charge for the actual logo. So yeah, it was an investment, because I thought, okay, these guys really care about their roots and where they come from. So might as well invest in this vector, and maybe I'll get to use it later on. Because if you get to use it once, then it's not really worth it. If you get to use it twice, then yeah, it's basically paid for already. Because you're kind of interested in getting as much money as possible for a project like this, and you can't really ask for a lot. So this was it. I'm just preparing like the final slides now to show them to the 3 guys or 2 guys. I'm not even sure how many there were at this point, because I was getting replies from different emails all the time. So this was it. But then they didn't want this one. They wanted this one, which is a combination of the first and the second. So they wanted this one with the New York skyline and the reflection in the water underneath, without the fonts even. So they just went for the very simple, basic stuff. So yeah, this is going to be it. This video, a project like this teaches you a few things. Like basically, you need to establish who your the final person you report to is, and only talk to that person. A lot of times that's very difficult, because some people are busy and can't always be there to reply to you. And I was kind of in a rush to get this done, because I wanted to have a video out today of it. And so a few problems arose, but in the end, everyone was happy. And I kind of regret it, because I wish they would have gone for the other one, for the mascot, because I thought that one looked much cooler than it. It had a good choice of font as well, very organic but techy at the same time. And it signified like the modern trend of logos nowadays. But you can't really force your opinion upon someone. You gotta accept what they want, and as long as it's done by me, then I guess that's fine. So yeah, this is gonna be it. Please rate that shit if you enjoyed it. And again, the guys that I worked with, if you're watching this, don't think that I'm flaming you or anything. Everything is cool with me, as long as someone is not jerking my chain or yanking my chain. So yeah, that's it. Please have a good weekend, and I'll see you around. Bye bye.